Quick disclaimer, I am not affiliated to the new force in any way, and by making this video, I am not endorsing Nana Kwame Bediako as a presidential candidate of Ghana. I do this video as the host of Thrive in Africa podcast on Eqay Inspire YouTube channel, who truly believes in the potential of Ghana and Africa, and by extension, feel the mandate to make an analysis of anything that seems to promise to turn around the fortunes of our nation and our continent. And so in this video, I am analyzing 6 of Nana Kwame Bediako's transformational ideas that he presented as part of his manifesto. And we break it down to see how feasible they are, what challenges they can face, and why they are revolutionary if they are. This is not part of our usual programming, because you know that on this channel, what we do is extract crucial life lessons from important life stories. And we also conduct interviews with people thriving in Africa and extract crucial life lessons from their life stories that other people can also apply to thrive in Africa. So although it may not be part of our usual programming, we consider it a relevant information that we need to put out there in the hopes that our political leaders will pick some nuggets from it that they can implement for the country and the continent to be better. So the first thing that I'd like to speak about, which is beginning with number 6, is the transformational idea by Nana Kwame Bediako to connect the water bodies in the country, as well as construct an 8,000-kilometer railway system that links up the country in a way like never before.
The ferries, the cruises, the leisure, the transportation and the logistics that will move all the industrial products that we are about to manufacture will be pulled on this water.
This is a remarkable idea because the truth is that Ghana is too unpopulated to be congested like it is in parts of Accra especially. When you look at the population density of Ghana, across the country, it's about 151 people per square kilometer. That's the number of people who live in each square kilometer of Ghana, averagely across the entire country. When you take Accra, which is the most dense part of the country, there are 1,300 people per square kilometer. This is no cause for traffic that is experienced on the streets of Accra. No cause at all. With efficient railway system and water connectivity where people can move easily, such that somebody can live in Kumasi, come and work in Accra and go back because of an efficient railway system, or somebody can live in Ho. The person doesn't have to migrate to Accra, but can live in Ho, come to Accra to work in the morning, go back in the afternoon. Accra will naturally decongest. There will be efficient movement of people and goods, and this will contribute to productivity, efficiency, and excellence, which will at the end of the day boost the economy, which is the big thing that we want to turn around right now. So that is a remarkable idea, and it is very important because the population of Ghana is going to increase tremendously as estimated by experts. In a few short years, we'll reach 50 million. So it's very important that there's that efficient system where people and goods can move around easily. New York in America has 11,000 people per square kilometer, and they make it work because of the efficient transportation systems that are in place. So Ghana urgently needs this because of how our population is growing and because the little number we have is already congesting things. So it is very, very timely and very crucial. But what are the challenges this can face? Well, for one major challenge as per the current situation in Ghana is water pollution. If you connect the water bodies, you are connecting the polluted water with the unpolluted water that we are still managing. And so in order for that to happen, there has to be purification. And imagine purifying a water body. This is not a dam somewhere where you've trapped some amount of water to purify. An entire river or lake, it's expensive, it will take time, and that has to be done before the water connectivity is implemented. It doesn't look like something that can be done in 8 years in its entirety. But then I don't pretend to be an expert. This is just based on my preliminary research. So hopefully there's a way around this that can make it faster. Constructing an 8,000-kilometer railway system is also no mean feat because you would probably have to resettle certain people at certain portions where the railway has to pass. Maybe some natural vegetation will have to be permeated. It's a lot because 8,000 kilometers, that is massive. And all the steel you will use, well, Nana Kwame Bediako says they will be mined in Ghana and used in Ghana, but possibly some might have to be imported as well. And so there are a lot of challenges with that also. And to be able to finish that within 8 years too is huge. And these are just two ideas in one. So it's ambitious, it's relevant, but then there are some huge challenges that have to be surmounted in order for them to come into fruition. Now let's move on to number 5, the remarkable idea that Ghanaian citizenship should be monetized. Now this is brilliant. And hearing this, I just got the impression that, yeah, this is a businessman who is focused on not sending us further into debt, but actually finding innovative ways of generating revenue so that we come out of debt and actually start amassing wealth as a country.
How are we going to raise 50 billion? Yes, we are going to raise 50 billion. Says who? Says the young man standing in front of you. This vision and this policy is going to make it happen.
It's not a novel idea. It's called CBI, Citizenship by Investment, and some countries have implemented it. An article I read says Cyprus and Dominica did this and it helped boost their economies. They were able to rebuild after suffering severe natural disasters or going through financial crisis. So it's great, but there's a challenge here. In Cyprus, somewhere in 2013 where it was implemented, they were able to rebuild their economy and all. However, the system started experiencing corrupt practices because there were people who could just purchase their way into the country and become citizens, have the right to vote and other rights like every other person in the country. And so looking at some of the illegalities that were going on, they had to suspend the program in 2020. So if you are listening and you are affiliated to the new force in any way, please tell Nana Kwame Bediako that this has to be implemented with caution, if at all, because if the regulations are not in place to check the profile of the people who are coming into the country, we might end up buying problems that will dilute the culture we have, the people we are, and bring illegal practices into our country. So that regulation has to be in place. Let's move on to number 4. But before we go there, if you're new to this channel, this is Eqay Inspire YouTube channel, and on this channel what we do is extract crucial life lessons from important life stories. But we're also passionate about Africa, and that is why we have Thrive in Africa podcast, where we interview people who are thriving in Africa and extract lessons from their life stories that other people can apply to also thrive in Africa. Now this is a special video that we are doing, which is not part of our usual programming. But if you are here, you would love our other content. So I entreat you to hit the subscribe button below, turn on the notification bell so that whenever we post a new video, you are going to get notified. Let's continue. Number 4, building a national Web3 platform that is transparent and houses information about our resources, our reserves, and what they are used for.
What I think we should do is to build something that would take the records of our lands properly and all national assets on a blockchain platform. This is where the technology hub comes in. So we're going to have a Web3 blockchain development centers that take stock of everything that we have in this country and control. And it goes in their national fund.
This is remarkably amazing because I remember the late former president Jerry John Rawlings once said that what Ghana needs is a system that is put in place such that even if it is Lucifer that comes to sit on top of us as president, the system will force him to do what will work for the people of the country and not things that will benefit he himself. And so creating this transparent system that is devoid of corruption because nothing can be edited. It is a blockchain sort of that anybody can plug in and see the resources the country has, the reserves the country has, and what they are being used for. It's going to change the game entirely. It is a great way to strip off the human manipulation and make the system work when it comes to accountability to the people of the country. Because there's no reason why we should spend $58 million digging a hole with no progress in the name of building a cathedral. It's completely unthinkable and should never happen. But what challenge could this face? Well, Ghana is still an informal economy for the most part, many people are not abreast with technology. And so that is a huge jump for many people. And there has to be massive education that will go into making them understand how the system works. Because I know that is not the only area. It's not just for accountability. It's for mining money tokens as well, as Kwame Bediako said during his presentation. So it's a whole infrastructure that is going to change the future of money for the country as well, and also ensuring accountability. But the people have to be educated in this entire blockchain technology and crypto mining space, so that they are not taken advantage of by the few that will be well aware of it. So that massive education has to go on. That has to lead this. And for most of the population, like 80 to 90%, to be well aware of this, it will take a lot of work. And once again, I don't know how feasible that will be in 8 years. So I do think a lot of these ideas are revolutionary, but successive governments will have to plug into the concept for it to be able to see fruition or efficient implementation in their entirety. Let's move on to number 3. This amazing idea talks about building Hollywood standard studios, helping artists from any creative industry, musicians, YouTubers, painters, and what have you, be able to obtain royalties. First of all, they will trademark or copyright their work and be able to obtain royalties by building and running our own distribution platforms and all. That is a game changer, to be fair. And this is an idea that is long overdue for implementation. How do we not protect the intellectual property of our people for them to obtain royalties on them? That is something we should have done long ago. So this is brilliant. I have only one challenge with this. Tyler Perry wanted to build an $800 million studio when he saw a video that was made with artificial intelligence and quit the project. He called it off. It was supposed to be a next generation studio or film village. And so if we want to build a Hollywood standard studio at this time, we may actually be chasing the past instead of delving straight into the future. So what I will recommend will be investing in some artificial intelligence infrastructure sort of that can put us ahead of the race, because AI is catching up with physical studios and all. But the second part that talks about intellectual property royalties, as for that one, I'm 100% in, and I don't think I see any challenge with that, because most of the people who are in the creative arts industry are somehow abreast with the issue of royalties, because some of the platforms we use have those elements in place where intellectual property is protected and copyright. So we've dealt with some of these things, and by those platforms I'm talking about the likes of YouTube, Apple Music and all. So we kind of understand how that system works, so it won't be difficult to get those people on board. But my challenge is with the studio, the Hollywood standard studio. Maybe we should be looking at rather building a next generation artificial intelligence infrastructure that will put us ahead of the game. Now, number 2, this idea, I put it at number 2 because it means a lot to me. And that is talking about changing the curriculum in schools so that what is learned in school can be directly applied in society. Now, this is true. I even wrote about it recently. Those who follow me on social media will know. Because why should we be learning A for apple when apple is not grown in the country? What happened to Akpele? What happened to Aboboya? Kids cannot go to school and learn A for apple. Apple is not even grown here. So our educational system, it needs refurbishment. It needs an overhaul so that the people grow up with full knowledge of what their culture is about and with skills that can directly be invested to turn people not into job seekers but entrepreneurs, because that is what the country and the continent needs right now. We need industrial revolution, not people begging for jobs. You can train people to become job seekers when you've already gone through your industrial revolution phase and the systems are put in place where you need to just train people to come and manage the systems that are already in place. But here we are, and there's not so much infrastructure or industrial revolution that has already taken place. So we need people to become the makers of those industries. We need people to be builders. And so this is very important. People have to be trained, first of all, to be able to translate their skills that they get in school directly into meaningful projects that will affect the society in which they are part of. And secondly, they have to be trained to not be job seekers but entrepreneurs. And when I heard Kwame Bediako mention this, I was like, yes, this is it.
We believe that education in this country needs to be tweaked. change, make it adaptable to our culture. And that's why Pillar 7 introduces to you industrification. It's industrialization with education coming together. We coined this word by merging industrialization and education. Why do we continue to use a curricula and a syllabus that are over a century old? And why is it talking about Europe and America? Why can't you study about your ground? Why don't you know about how to dig your gold? Why does it have to take somebody to come from outside to find where your gold is? Why do you have to give your cocoa to someone before he turns it to chocolate for you? What happened? What happened to you knowing about your sea? You have oil in there and it can create petrol for you. We need to educate Ghanaian children about Ghanaian values, culture, minerals, the minerals and how it gets processed, and agriculture and the values that can come out of it, the power of supply and distribution. We need to de-westernize the curriculum, and that's exactly what we're doing. We need to build an industrial mindset, very important. Industrialize the curriculum, tailor education to our industrial needs, and out of that, we're going to start building entrepreneurs. We're going to start building industrialists. We're going to start building business leaders. See, what I've realized about Ghana's education is you spend 21 years of educating yourself, and then after, you go look for a job, only to find out that there are no vacancies.
Now, the biggest challenge I find with this is that the architects of the current educational system, which are the teachers, the trainers, even the non-teaching staff, the parents who are also helping to educate these kids and socialize them, they are all used to the former way of doing things. Just a change in the curriculum, although it will be huge, will not necessarily change every facet that shapes people to become dependent, entitled, job seekers, and turn them into who we want them to be. It's a whole cultural rearrangement that has to happen. And it's not easy. Once again, 8 years looks like a small period of time for that. One of the most difficult things to do is to change people's mindsets and their habits, things they've already adopted and have grown with. So I welcome this with all my heart, but there has to be successive governments that will equally plug into this idea and make it happen. That is why, personally, I believe that these ideas are not just for Nana Kwame Bediako. They are for Ghana, right? That is why I'm even making this video, so that no matter what party affiliation you have, you plug into this, because this is what will help the country. So let's all come aboard. If we really want the country to develop, successive governments have to also plug into a similar concept that is meant to build the country, so that we build our country. We have no reason to be considered a poor country when we have everything it takes to be a world leader. Let's move on to my number one idea by Nana Kwame Bediako. This is creating the National Sovereign Wealth Fund that builds reserves.
The National Sovereign Wealth Fund is the new IMF, independent and autonomous. It will collect every reserves, and it will keep it, and it will protect it. But nobody has to pretend they're not accountable or responsible for our own anymore, because now it's secured within the National Fund. Anybody needs anything within the ministries or the government, let them go to the fund, and they will know this fund has more wealth than IMF or the World Bank can ever give them.
I was shocked to read in an article that the value of a currency is determined by how much gold the country keeps in its reserves more than anything. So if you have more gold in your reserves, your currency will automatically become more stable. Now, if that is true, the country whose currency should have the least inflation or the highest exchange rate in favor of that country should be the country that was once called the Gold Coast. Because this is where foreigners came and saw so much gold, they named the place Gold Coast. So how is it that that country's exchange rates are so out of order that inflation is killing its people economically? It's unbelievable. It's probably one of the 7 wonders of the world. Because how? And so creating a national sovereign wealth fund where we keep reserves of gold, reserves of oil, and where ministries can go to if they need money instead of looking to borrow from outside. I think this is a game changer. This is a revolutionary mindset on its own. And when it comes to stabilization of currency, this probably is the grandest solution to that. But the only problem with this that I can talk about is if successive governments will continue building the wealth fund, because I've heard reports that said that the NDC left some money in some funds. I think it's called a stabilization fund, but NPP came and wiped it all out. Well, I heard it from somebody in the NDC anyway, so it probably has to be taken with a pinch of salt, but that is possible. And so what if successive governments come and just loot the fund that will be created? Although there's that blockchain system in place, assuming it's not fully built or it has some loopholes here and there that some people can exploit, if it's not efficiently built within 8 years before another government comes, then what will happen? It will mean that it will just be like saving the wealth for other people to come and enjoy instead of it helping us build. So I don't know what can be done, but we have to make sure that successive governments also keep building the fund, and that's the only way that is going to work for the country, like Nana Kwame Bediako intends for it to. So that brings me to the end of this video, but in summary, what I'll say is that these ideas are brilliant, and as I've repeatedly said, most of them might not happen in 8 years. It takes time for these things to actually be effective, because sometimes if you even rush them, you will end up making so many mistakes along the way that can even lead to them crashing back to nothing. So it has to be built successively. Maybe one thing I foresee happening is that if it should happen that a government decides to implement these things and they do it very well, by their 7th or 6th year, the country will be so impressed, the youth especially, as Ghana is a youthful population, will be so impressed that they will lobby for a change in the constitution so that these presidents can be re-elected to serve more terms, so that they end up lasting long in government and making sure that these policies are fully implemented. That is one thing that I think can be a game changer for anybody who actually wants to implement these ideas. And I'm happy that Nana Kwame Bediako said in passing in one video that these ideas, with or without him, should be implemented.
And with or without me, it must be applied.
Because this is for Ghana, this is not for him. And so I was really happy when I heard that. So let me wrap it up. That brings me to the end of the video. Until I see you again next time, I want you to believe that Africa can and must thrive in our lifetime. However we want to make that happen, we have to see it happen. Thank you.